go. Carter puts boot to ball, puts it high as well. It will be Keighley, all things being equal, to get the first set here. It's safely caught, despite the attentions of Mark Calderwood on that far side. Caught safely enough, and a chance for Keighley to try and build from the back here, if they can. As always, Brian Noble, a cliche, but these early stages so important in terms of just putting your toughness on the game, and making a mistake like that is a real big blow, isn't it?
There's a cliche, don't drop the ball. Push into trouble in your own half, Gareth. You've got to look after the ball, and that's a poor start from Keighley. They'd be looking for the exact opposite to that, and my only other cliche is who'd ever think see a Cumbrian team in pink.
Well, you've got to get up with the modern times, Brian. Yeah, everybody's wearing pink these days.
Expression, that's my bad, is it?
Something like that. Elliot Miller is the man who's put down just about 15 yards out, so a chance here.
Yeah. Swapping.
Workington to have a go. It's gone to ground again. It's Keighley who come up with possession, so handling mistakes on both sides. It's a scrappy opening, but Keighley looking to force their way forward here, having been given that cheap possession back again. And it might be a bit of a scrappy night the way things have started here.
Oh, well, let's hope not. Let's hope the quality of skill improves. Both teams won't have wanted that, but maybe a little bit of bus journey from the Cumbrians and a little bit of nerves from Keighley, eh?
There's a little show by Jody Sharif, and tries to make his way through, but Workington defenders are there in numbers. If you are just switching on, they are the side in pink, and Keighley in that terrifically famous green and red that they wear, who've taken it up towards this halfway line, or the 40-metre line, in fact, inside Workington territory. Chance to build here. Still a couple of tackles to go as well. A little chip by Leatherbarrow to test that defence out. Elliot Miller is back there to collect it safely enough. It's a decent chase, and Workington start from here.
Yeah, I think that's probably the kind of set that Paul March would have wanted for the first one. They got 2 attempts at it because of Workington's mistakes, but they've turned the ball over right down here, and Workington playing up this slope, they'll have to come away from their own line now.
Seems like every ground we go to has got a slope these days.
I've never mentioned the slope this time.
We won't mention the slope. Picked up from dummy half, and Workington up the hill here. They've got a decent travelling support here as well. They've come down on a Thursday night all the way from that northern tip of Cumbria to try and help their team on their way. Here's Ewan Dowes, Challenge Cup winner back in 2005, of course. The former Holland Leeds man who's settled back in Cumbria these days and helping this Workington team out. Little kick downfield from Lupton, I think that was. It's going to be carried back. And now Keighley starts from here, so a fairly basic set and a decent set from Workington.
Nice chase from Thackeray, and doubling his efforts up here, trying to make an impression for his team early on in the game.
That's White who's tackled. Now looking for a bit of width here, but muscling up in defence. Connor amongst them, Cale Connor. Once on the young Brisbane books a while back. Little show by Schickel, he let it go as well, but Workington's defence has not been, and it was stolen away, the referee decides. So Brendan Rawlins might have been worried he'd lost it, but the referee decides penalty.
It's a big call for Keighley early in the game. They'll need as much help as they could possibly get. When your confidence is a little dented and you're not where you want to be, a couple of calls from the referee, from the officials to help you get down the field is really helpful.
I'm not sure he had that stolen, and I thought he lost it. Anyway, it's all by the by, because Keighley now have a chance to enjoy a bit of possession in their opponent's half. So taken in by Cosgrove. Back with this team, having arrived here from Dewsbury. He was here on loan earlier the year, so he'll know these players well enough. Here's Feather from dummy half. It's Leatherbarrow now who takes it across the line. March chiming in as well. Jones from fullback is up there, throwing it wide to White. White trying to cut back, but his way is cut off. But they're getting closer here, Keighley, in these early stages. Real test of this Workington resolve as Chandler tries to force his way forward. That was a fifth. So here comes the last tackle. Leatherbarrow again, grubbers it into that in-goal area. Jones is chasing. It's missed in the first instance by Forber, but it's patted away for a dropout underneath the sticks.
Yeah, they've no lack of playmakers, have they, Keighley? With playing Danny Jones at fullback, he's played the vast majority of his career at halfback. So they've got him, Leatherbarrow and March, plenty of options all the time there, and I think we'll see that in the kicking game at the end of sets there. That was Leatherbarrow, nice little kick.
Here's a decent dropout as well, which has them turning, and Schickel eventually is the man who gathers it in and brings it forward and takes it in, and is met by some pretty decent resistance led by Thackeray and 2 of his teammates. So how long have we played now? 5 minutes. Scoreless so far, but a positive start by the Keighley Cougars. They made that handling error in the opening set, but since then it's been decent enough for the home team. Especially given the run of form they're on at the moment. Feather bends his back. It's Pursglove who will drive it in. Not able to make too much progress. Here's Feather again, down this blind side. Jones with a short pass. It's Cosgrove who's caught in possession. But that was a fifth, so they're on the last again here. What did they do here? Leatherbarrow again with the boot. This time he goes to that left wing. It's just caught up a little bit in the breeze here. I think it was a Workington hand that got to that and knocked it on. It is. So the referee says that Andy Morris knocked it on. It will be head and feet here for Keighley.
It was a fair competition for the kick, wasn't it? And you'd have to say that is it Morris that knocks it on?
Yep.
Nice kick from Leatherbarrow again, and Keighley players putting the pressure on, goes up.
Stay release.
Yep.
Stay release, Pete.
And that's the right call.
He's got 2 repeat sets effectively now, Leatherbarrow already, hasn't he? So I think that's definitely going to be a feature of the Cougars game, and they have been raving about this Leatherbarrow at Keighley's. Got a bright future by all accounts.
Well, they have a chance to apply some pressure. The ball's gone down, it's gone backward, it's picked up by Cosgrove. Cosgrove will try and take them on. Well, they've got a bit of luck there. They've got a touch as well, so it's another set from here. Picked up quickly by Duffy. Back to the middle again. Driven in by Andy Schickel. And if anyone is going to test the resolve of that Workington line, it will be he. But he's stopped well enough. This is Feather again. Looking for the inclusion here of the coach, March. Trying to bring them on. Chandler's going to be held up. But you can see how close he's getting here. Whisked back again. Jones involved once more. Little dummy shown. And it's going to be Brendan Rawlins, I think, who's over. Well, the referee is not sure. Going to go for the video referee here right at the start. Obstruction is what they're looking at. If Brendan Rawlins has scored this or not, it's up to the judgment of Ian Smith. So it's over to you, Ian.
Cheers, Dave. Looking for obstruction, please. So pass it out. Does the decoy runner go through? No, the defender goes to him. Just have you got the camera in the corner will be the one, please. If you can do this slow, so it's about who instigates collision. He runs on the inside shoulder. The defender goes to the Keighley player. Let's just carry on to the grounding. Keep going. There's no obstruction there. That's a try, Matt. That's a try.
Well, the try's given and no complaints.
No complaints at all. Absolutely right, Mr. Smith. The defender goes for the player. And this is on the back of, this is contentious. Did he just drop that call? But he deemed that was play on. And then down the corner, Rawlins a straight walking because of the poor read from Cale Connor.
One Aussie against another, this wasn't it?
It was a poor read. And he won't get much easier try tonight. He might. I'll be surprised if he does. I'll tell you what, I've been impressed with Gareth. I think Cosgrove has made an immediate impact on this right-hand side for Keighley, hasn't he? He's looked dangerous when he's carried the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Paul March was delighted to get him back here. Dewsbury have allowed him to leave. He couldn't quite become a regular in their team. And I think Paul March snapped the hands off. Just watching that replay again, it does look a debatable knock-on, but a great finish to the set with Rawlins out wide. And he's another one who's been consistent for Keighley for a few years, big Aussie forward.
Well, Leatherbarrow is the man who added the 2, so Keighley lead here by 6 points to 0. And you say, again, apart from that initial knock-on in the first set, it is a lead they possibly deserve in these opening 8 minutes.
Well, penalty, couple of repeat sets. All the ball's been with Keighley, hasn't it? It's important that Workington try and impress themselves on this game by looking after the ball themselves.
I don't think they've had possession, have they, for more than 3 tackles so far, Workington?
3 players versus the rest at the moment, and we're, what, 9 minutes into the game?
Well, when they got that knock-on, they themselves knocked on pretty soon after, and I think, memory serves, that Keighley have been in possession ever since, so it's a tough ask in these early stages for this Workington side. A little half break by Feather. Up he gets, and outside rather for Leatherbarrow, who puts a boot on it and makes Carter turn and chase in this long grass here. Carter picks up safely enough, runs it back, and is going to be held up, what, short of the 30, and he's pushed back to the 20, still going back. Good job he lost his legs, otherwise he might have been back in goal the way that drive was going. So Workington looking to build momentum and failing to do so far.
Wait.
in these opening couple of tackles in this particular set. Out goes Miller, lending his hand, the winger, to the hard work that the forwards will have to do as well. Searching the middle once more. Keighley's defence is organised well enough to make sure there's not too much give. How many have we had here? 4 tackles, and they're still inside their own half. Taken on a stride or two by Jordan Waln, who Brian Noble's got his eye on tonight. He's one of his players, of course. And a kick eventually from Carl Alstrom, spiralling high, and Duffy's underneath it. Oh, and the bounce is a jagged one, not the one that the winger would have wanted, but the chase is offside.
Offside chase. I think he knew he was offside as well, Miller, and still went through with the tackle. Saw the temptation of the ball bouncing there, thinking I might be in for a try here, and because he's within the 10, right call from Tomlinson.
Well, maybe he was trying his luck after the events of the weekend. Kick downfield, ball bounces, you never know. You never know.
Are you saying there are a few contentious calls at the weekend?
There might have been one. Anyway, here Keighley in possession, back again. Leatherbarrow helping it on. In by Jody Sharif, who's just short of the halfway line when he's tackled. I'm not quite sure where the halfway. This is the halfway line here that they've just crossed. It is. The markings are difficult here, aren't they? It's a bit odd. Anyway, here it is Keighley, who are just inside their opponent's half. On by Chandler again. Another few strides made. 4 tackles, still 2 to go. March looking short and bringing Schickel onto that, and Schickel just setting up a position here on the last tackle to come. It's moved right to Leatherbarrow. Leatherbarrow with a kick back on the inside. The fullback should have it read. It's covered anyway. And the half break is stopped by those Keighley defenders.
That's probably their worst finish to a set this evening, Keighley. They've had a couple of deals, a couple of penalties, a couple of wins. And I'd say that was a bit of a nothing kick, but it was pre-planned. You could see Leatherbarrow, Danny Jones switched the ruck right late at the end of the call, so there was indication that it was going to go there, and it didn't fool Workington.
Well, I think, Gareth, that before the game, Paul Myers said this is the strongest squad he's had at his availability for a long time at this 17, so tonight's the night, really, isn't it? They have to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's only Richie Barnett, who's a long-term with a broken leg, that's probably out of their first-choice 17 tonight, so it is a strong squad. I think this is a real big game for Keighley, and they've started as if it is, to be honest.
Good work.
Up from dummy half, it's taken. Kick downfield. He's going to test Jones, but he's caught it safely enough and looks to his left and sees Paul White wants to have a run here, and White just threatening to go out on the outside, but he's lost the ball.
Whoops.
The tackle just, well, not the tackle, but it was a fall that dislodged it, wasn't it?
This might be the turning point that Workington need, because they've had no ball at all, really, apart from that first setup here, have they?
Nice.
This is a real good chance.
Nice pass. Nice aspiration to get on the outside, but you've got to look after the ball. He landed on the ball and juggled it. Unfortunately, Paul White. Blistering speed when he's in song, you know.
So Glenn Barraclough, the coach in the stand, of course, with the head coach on the field, watches on and hopes his side can keep Workington out here, but it's a terrific chance here for the Cumbrians to have a go. Forber out from dummy half, looks to his right, and Jordan Waln with that initial drive. He's taken it close, 5 metres away. Mattison is the man who picks up now. Dummy by him, and short again, and hammered in by Thackeray. But 3 of 4 is a welcoming committee, making sure he cannot make the ultimate indention in that defence. Lupton now. Little dummy shown, it's not bought, and it's given time for the defenders to swarm around him and pulling him down wide right. Still a couple of goes to have, though, in this particular set. Swung back to the middle by Forber. It's a little step put on. The defence isn't taking it.
5 last movement.
He's put down 10 metres away. So left it comes again here. Forber again back on the inside. Bounced in by Jordan Wall. He goes down. That's 6 tackles, all done and dusted. And it will be the handover.
It's not the worst place to start a defensive set, but I think they lost their way a little bit there. I think they failed to manufacture anything, any surprise, you know, or any kind of play that would test the Keighley defence, and then ran out of options, really. Were looking for a kick, couldn't quite get their halves and pivots in the right place to finish the set with a kick, and so they decided to give the ball to Jordan Wall to ramp up and try and create something for them.
So Keighley looking back here now.
Go, good work.
Leatherbarrow dropping it on the inside. Here's Pursglove again. He's going to be tackled 40 metres out.
Move. Go. Ball.
Schickel hammering it forward again here.
Surrender.
Keighley having
Forward.
survived that little scare at the other end. Looking to clear their territory. Leatherbarrow carries it on the sixth tackle, kicking downfield. Calderwood is the man who's in position here. A couple of awkward bounces, but it's taken well enough by the veteran, who, by the way, is celebrating his 300th game tonight, his first-class game. Leeds, Wigan, Hull, Harlequins. He's been around a bit, hasn't he? Did you pick him for Great Britain once as well? No?
Move. Hold. Wait. Go.
England? No. He has played a couple of times in international. You called him into squad, didn't you, once? No? No.
Wait,
I'm going to stop pursuing this. Brian Elmer's just shaking his head. I'm pretty sure interviewing Mark Calderwood ahead of an Australian tour.
Oh, good ball.
Oh, that's a terrific ball by Calderwood. He should have been a Great Britain international every day of the week. Out on that right-hand side is Andy Morris, who's tackled. Picked up again now. They've got a bit of momentum here, Workington. Can they build on it? They've lost it, though, with that pass. That's poor, and it's gone to ground. In the end, Ewan Dowes does well to just pick it up, and in fact, he does well to get it away as well. And Alstrom with a kick downfield, right down the throat of Danny Jones, who comes galloping forward, trying to make as much ground as possible before he inevitably runs into the arms of Forber. And he's tackled 5 yards inside his own half.
They just look a bit unorganised when you compare it with Keighley, really. Towards the end of the Workington sets, the last couple of ones, they've not really known what they're doing. Where Keighley, you know, Leatherbarrow's got in there first man and put a decent kick in most times. And I think that's been a bit of a contrast between the teams so far.
Here's Mattison at dummy half. There's some confusion at the end of last season whether he'd signed for Whitehaven or Workington, Graham Mattison, but it was sorted out in the end. It was a Workington signing, the RFL decided.
Move. Wait. Go.
Away from dummy half goes Feather. Little dummy shown by him.
Held there.
5 gone. Here comes the last. March stands and waits. To that left-hand side, Jones again, the left-footed kick, it's chased, and Calderwood is up there, caught it on the fall in his own in-goal area, so can run it back to the 20. He wants to tap quickly, which he's allowed to do, of course, and little show, but the Keighley defenders are back there in line.
I picked him for Wigan.
He scored a very memorable hat-trick for you, didn't he? Do you remember that?
I do, at Bradford.
At Bradford, 31-30. Well, you losing 30 points to 6, weren't you? And you came back and won 31-30, and he scored a hat-trick.
I picked him that night.
A good job you did.
I think that's Workington's first penalty, and a good chance for them again now just to ease a bit of pressure off their own line. They've not had much ball at all, have they, up here? So good opportunity now.
Forber's kick has found decent distance, so Workington will start midway inside their opponent's half here. We've played very nearly 17 minutes, just that one try, but signs in the last few moments that the Cumbrians are growing into this game a little more now, enjoying their chance to have their ball in their hands. Forward by Thackeray, head down and a real barge and a hit, but he's lost it in his enthusiasm to make it end. He's lost it. Keighley have it again. Oh, that wasn't the best planned pass. Will be picked up by Duffy. No, it won't. No, it won't. And it's touchdown.
Was it a free play?
Yes.
Free play. Stop getting excited, Woodsy. It was a free play.
Keighley were going for the free play, so we go back to the original knock-on, which was Jamie Thackeray's. We're all over I'm all over the place tonight.
Okay. 10s are good. Play the balls are good. Let's keep working out at it.
So Keighley, that's the gamble
well,
here.
Just for our viewers, just to let them know, on an error now, you get a free play. And it is confusing because it's first time in this season. When the play's going and it's bouncing around, you sometimes forget that, and everybody thinks, oh, what's he doing? Why is he throwing the ball?
There's no impression of me there with your high-pitched voice.
Well, you were getting a bit excited there.
One thing that interests me on that, Brian, is that I think I'm right in saying that won't be the rule in the World Cup. So all the guys over here will be playing all season with this mentality that you get a free play from a knock-on. Will that have a big effect for guys who then have to change that for the World Cup, do you think?
Well, I think it ones that play over here, certainly, yeah. I think it's something that the coaches will have to speak about, of the various teams that play Super League or Championship, if you know the International World Cup concept. So, good offload.
Oh, great offload by Schickel. And here, eventually, is Leatherbarrow joining up with Feather. That was a fifth. Now, he's not in position to get the kick away here, obviously, so it's back to March, and March is the man instead who just jabs it forward in that in-goal area, so well weighted. And they're going to have to do some work to get it out, and they have. Carter's done well.
Did really well there, didn't he, Carter?
Oh, and he's got a penalty. Hanging on too long in the tackle. Sharif, penalty for Workington.
The grass is quite long, isn't it? Do you think that's the coach having an influence on the groundsman to leave it a bit long, stop the ball? Seriously.
Collision.
You know, it's long grass and stops the ball a little bit. And with Paul March and Leatherbarrow and
a few kickers,
even Danny Moore, they've got some kickers that just might be to their advantage.
Can't do much about lengthening the in-goal areas in terms of yardage, but they can grow the grass, as you say.
Movement! Keep coming, Jimmy.
So here's Mattison at dummy half. Off he goes and scampering away. Alstrom.
I mean, it's allowed, Dave, as long as they don't put a Japanese soldier at the back.
Go.
No, you are exaggerating. Here comes Thackeray, stepping back in the middle.
4, movement!
So a couple of tackles left here.
Go.
Workington in position again, Mattison. When it's short, but they're not going to get through.
Move!
Now find a pressure kick. That's what they'll be looking for.
Here's Forber.
Find a pressure kick.
Just slotted through again. It's picked up by Paul White, who's done well and manages to get out.
Yeah. But attempting to build the pressure out of Workington. They've got a bit of field position.
2, clear! Hold, go.
Here's the play the ball. Here's a chance for Keighley just to
Play on.
bring the way forward. Chance to consolidate here.
Go.
Sharif. Head down and barge again, and well, chest up actually. He's trying to get the arm free as well, wasn't he? But a couple of defenders hanging on to him. Ewan Dowes amongst them. He had a spell in Australia last year, Ewan Dowes, didn't he? And then decided to come home, I think for domestic reasons, and settle back in Cumbria, close to family, and he's found himself playing with Workington, and I'm sure doing a very good job for the Cumbrian side. Little dancing step by Carter. Not much progress made. Still fairly tight. 21 minutes of this first half played. In by Thackeray. Just the one try so far. Scored by the Australian Brendan Rawlins for the Keighley Cougars. Otherwise, it's tough and it's tight, as you'd expect from a match involving two teams who are very much of a level. As Forber held up, eventually plays Alstrom. Lupton puts it high, spinning away. Plenty of chase here. Lupton got it up there as well, but it's caught very well in the air.
Keighley, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great catch. And a penalty. Wins his side a penalty.
There's an interesting thing coming up now, I think, with the props changing. I think it's fair to say that Workington's main two front rows have started, Dowes and Thackeray, and we'll see Keighley bring on Hesketh now and Scott Law, and both of those could provide a bit of impact. I think they'll be fresh legs. It'll be interesting to see how Law in particular goes on.
2 balls on.
Decent size, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. They'll, if you see the size of Hesketh out there, they're not really losing anything, I don't think, by bringing these two guys on.
Leatherborough helps it away. Jones helping it on again. Big dip forward by Hesketh. First touch. Early touch.
No leg, pull 16.
Here's Leatherbarrow. Cosgrove trying to step away from the attentions of Forber. Oh, and he's got a great offload on. And Duffy with a chance to scamper another 5 or 6 yards. But at least it draws a bit more of the petrol out of the tank of those Workington defenders.
Well, Miller was alert to it and followed him around, didn't he, to make the play on Duffy.
Here's Feather. This is Leatherbarrow again now. Up to that line, driven in by Hesketh. He's dragged down before he can get that ball away. March moves in at dummy half. It's going to be another penalty here for the Keighley Cougars. Well, what do they do here? I think they're going to go for goal. I think Danny Jones has pointed they're going to go for goal. If he puts this over, they do, of course, lead by 8. A 2-goal difference, so this could be a big moment in the game.
Well, I think it's a mentality thing. I personally perhaps would have been tempted to play on, where they've had no ball Workington as such, and all the juice has been taken out. But I understand his decision to take the 2, because if you can get 2 scores in front, it gives you that momentum to keep defending the way that they're defending. So maybe that's in his psyche.
Yeah, Hesketh's been good straight off the bench there, hasn't he? I think that's 2 or 3 drives within a short space of time. He earned the penalty there.
So here comes Leatherbarrow. A picture of concentration as he prepares himself for this attempted penalty success. It is a penalty success. Up go the flags. So the Keighley side have been under the hammer in recent weeks, find themselves now with an 8-0 lead, and something to build on here as well.
Yeah, they'll be pleased with that.
Workington have made a change with their props as well now. Shackley's come on there, I think, for Dowes. But if you look at Workington's bench, they've got two out-and-out playmakers there, really, in Craven and Phillips. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, and that's gone out on the full, I think.
Yeah, Carter not getting his length correct there. So it will be a penalty back on the halfway line. And just about the last thing you need to happen, isn't it? Having conceded points.
Well, it's one of them, you know, to give free possession away. Keighley needs to makes their decision to kick a goal even better, doesn't it? So they get their field position as well with an extra 2 points on the scoreboard.
Here's Feather with a tap. And again, it's Hesketh who's really enthusiastic since his entry with a quick play the ball as well. Leatherbarrow gets it left now, and this is Scott Law, another of those fairly fresh-legged props who are on, causing more problems for this Workington defence. Here's March. March puts the step on that left foot, but the defenders have it read and have it covered. And he's put down. This is Feather now, standing and waiting. Another penalty. Another penalty. Well, the referee's having a look. And he's talking to those Workington players, but he's not put them on a warning just yet. What do they do here? Another pot at goal is what they've decided here. What do you think, Coach?
I probably still would have played on here. You know, they've got the 2 scores in front. I think they need to give themselves that opportunity to have some real breathing space between the 2 teams. Because what it does for Workington, if they get away with it, goes to 10-0 here, it's still only 2 scores for them. I'd have been looking to go to 3-score game.
Well, we'll see if they can get a 10-0 lead anyway, because Leatherbarrow's just got a bit of a fiddly one here, hasn't he? You'd expect him to kick it, but left of the sticks. 15 yards or so, up he steps, sure-footed again. It's another ball disappearing over the stand at that far end. It's his second penalty in the space of just about 3 minutes. And Keighley now lead by 10 points to 0. And Brett Carter no doubt haunted by what happened about 3 minutes ago.
I don't think he'd be haunted, but he certainly won't want to do it again.
Well, his length this time was better. Jones has caught it. Here comes Law with a drive back again. Looking to make as much ground as possible in these early drives. This is Hesketh, former Irish international Sean Hesketh. Feather,
16.
very much the local lad in Keighley. Pursglove.
Move. Go.
Feather again. Some big clattering hits going in as well, and that's a terrific offload by Rawlins to keep this ball alive here. And Feather throws it left. Good ball out as well. Haley's on that left-hand flank, brings it in with a pass to White. White's going to be pulled down, but they are flowing now. The confidence absolutely flowing amongst these Keighley players. In their pomp just at the moment. Law now in and keeps the right arm free. Should he be able to swing it, but he can't because the defenders hang on. 5 tackles, they've gone the length of the field here. Here comes the last pick up from dummy half, and over goes James Feather, I think it is. Will claim the try, is given the try. What a set that was. Workington falling out amongst themselves at the moment, but Keighley now leading by 14 points to 0.
And you'd have to say deservedly. Young Feather sees the hole on the back of some good goal forward play. Laws here, the 2 fresh blokes, as Gareth says, off the bench, making really denting the Workington line, and manages to get himself off the floor before the markers are set, and a few straight legs to run out here, but it has to be done. He shows great body position in that kind of position, and Feather comes up with a fabulous score for the Keighley team, and fully deserved, you'd have to say, from James Feather.
Yeah, I think that was Scott Law's second driver, that said as well. I think he took the first tackle, so a great work rate from him. And you just get the impression that they're just winning the physical battle the last 5 or 10 minutes. You know, as Dave said, a full length of the field in that set there, just through the forwards, apart from the one going wide. And they're definitely on top at the moment. With 12 minutes to go to half-time, I think Workington have got to hang on in here to get to the break.
Well, you've got your 3-score difference now. That was very effective, wasn't it, right from the kick-off?
Makes the decision even better, doesn't it? That kind of score there.
So restart again for Brett Carter. It's his, what, 3rd restart, 4th restart in the space of 4 minutes. With just less than 23 minutes gone, Keighley were leading 6-0. And 4 minutes later, they're leading 16-0. 2 penalties, a try and a conversion.
Makes Paul March's decisions really sensible, doesn't it, when it pans out like that?
Here comes Hesketh. like Gareth called, the two props coming on really have added a real impetus to this Keighley effort.
4, movement, onside, wait, go.
Feather plays it. Back it comes to Leatherbarrow again, who gets that kick. He saw the fullback was going one way, so he's kicked it the other, making the job as difficult as possible for Carter. Safely collected eventually by Brett Carter, but look at that wall of green and red that meets him.
They're up for this one, aren't they, Keighley? The enthusiasm in the kick chase, the fact that he's finding grass all the time, and by grass I mean open space, so they're lifting their heads, they're having a look where people are and aren't, and giving their kick chase team the best opportunity to restrict the yardage of the Workington team.
10 minutes to half-time here, and Keighley in complete charge. And the number of sets that Workington have had in their opponent's half must be no more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2, I think.
And how long is it since they've had the ball, when you bear in mind, they've scored the try, kicked 2 penalties. This is the first time in a while, and they're struggling to get out of their own 20 at the moment.
Well, the only slight consolation is that they're coming up the hill, so maybe going down the hill in the second half there's a slight advantage, but you're grasping at straws, really, aren't you, if you're a Workington fan at that point, as Elliot Miller kicks it downfield. Caught safely enough by Jones, inviting Paul White to come in and have a run, and Paul White does have a run, but it's a fairly meaty Cumbrian shoulder, and he's going no further than that.
Need to work out the ruck.
Here's March, Paul March.
2, movement!
Well, who's going to be the player that sparks Workington up here, Gareth? Who's going to be one that either lifts their sleeves and does U-butte carry, or lifts their, drops their shoulders and crack somebody in the middle to inspire his team?
Yeah, they definitely need it, don't they? If it's just a half break or anything, just to break this kind of dominance that Keighley have got at the moment, rolling forward. Maybe the young lad Phillips can do something from dummy half and just get them on the front foot again.
Here's an effort by Ollie Perslow. That's the 5th.
Go.
Here's Joe Parkinson. It's come on from the bench. Little chip by Leatherbarrow that bounces. They'll be hoping it goes dead now, and eventually it does. Mark Calderwood sees it going out of play. He's coming back here swiftly, wants to get on with it again. Little tap by him, but they're well organised, Keighley, here in defence, aren't they? There were no obvious gaps.
1, move!
Always difficult to get through that particular line of defence.
Go. 2, move! Onside. Wait. Go. 2.
This is Callum Phillips, dummy half. Owen Morris threatening to make a break here, Andy Morris.
3, move!
So Callum Phillips waits again. It's another penalty. Penalty for hanging on.
Yeah, I thought that was a penalty. He's claiming he was grabbed there, is Joe Chandler. Let's have a look, see if he was right.
Line.
Yeah, he was.
Have a point.
But it has got Workington a penalty, and it has got them some good position here again.
1,
Stack,
move!
who's held up 15 yards away.
Wait. Go.
Here's Phillips. Really good, lively talent. Shackley wants to play it quickly, but there's a big wrestle going on, and too much of a wrestle, the referee decides. So another penalty, back-to-back penalties here, and what do they say these days? Penalty, penalty, try. You reckon?
They do say that, and they're going to go for that equation, and they could sorely do with that equation, but it's not a gimme.
Here's Phillips out of dummy half again. Lupton spinning it away to that right-hand side. Keighley's defence has read it well, and he's up quickly. Phillips again, operating from that roll. Dummy's left goes right. Here goes Morris for the second time in the last minute or so. Has proved a real handful for that Keighley left side defence. Now they come back to the middle again. Little offer on the inside for Shackley to have a go. Keighley's defence is hanging on here. Phillips wants more. Now Lupton spinning it out towards Forber. Forber lets it go. It's gone to hand somehow, and here's a chance on this left-hand side for Miller. He's going to be pushed out of play before he can trouble the goal line, and Keighley survived the moment.
That was good D, wasn't it? Because it was really tight in the corner, and I thought he opened up a space, got rid of the winger. It's Leatherbarrow that manages to grab hold of him on the inside shoulder and drags him out, and you show that kind of desire as well. And more often than not, when you're in a bit of a rut, it's your defensive actions as well as your attack that gets you over the line, and they look really tough tonight, don't they, Keighley?
Yeah, it's noticeable how enthusiastic they are, aren't they? They're up in a line, doesn't seem to be any chinks in that defence. And right from the off, they've looked up for it tonight. It feels like a big game for Keighley. They played like that tonight.
Peter, hands out the
Well, they'll have identified this, wouldn't they, as a must-win game. It's a very winnable game, certainly against one of the 9 clubs that they are in that little league with, if you like, the bottom half of the table.
Play the ball, play it. Go.
And having been rattled by Lee last week.
Well, they're not the only team to be rattled by Lee, are they? And they have to take that in the equation, that when they're on song, the Lee side, they're pretty good.
This is quick. Oh, it's lost. Stolen. The referee says stolen. So a penalty here for Keighley.
Do you know, by the way the ball came out there, was it a ricochet or... Let's have a look. Did he put it out?
Peter!
He's given that Dahlstrom has, hasn't he? And the Keighley players were appealing for it immediately, but it's one of those that can easily go both ways.
Wait!
Big moment, though, now. You get the feeling if they get 4 scores in front, that's a real tall order for Workington in the second half.
Here's the drive by Hesketh. 5 tackles to go. 15 yards away. Law will be the next big man forward to have a good batter at that Workington line. Now he picks himself up, and it's a little dash from dummy half. The referee says not square, so it'll be another penalty here. And they're going to go for goal again. Right underneath the sticks, they're going for goal.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with him, although I would play on. 16-0, going down the hill, all the momentum. They can't handle the big bucks, Hesketh and Laws. They're getting plenty of opportunities. Get over the line, make it 4 scores.
Yeah, I agree with Brian. You know, they've just got so much momentum at the moment. They're struggling to hold them, aren't they, Brian?
Definitely, but, you know, the 2 previous decisions and the way they got out of their own half with a score last time because of the same, who are we to criticise? It's on the day, and he's decided to rattle the tins at every opportunity as Paul March, and by rattle the tins I mean keep the scoreboard going and clicking over, and they're certainly doing that.
So here's Leatherbarrow with the easiest kick, I would say, of his 5 so far tonight, and he's slotted it in nicely enough. So 5 out of 5, 18 points to 0. It is a 3-score lead still, but in this case now, if they get 3 scores, we're all square, rather than Workington getting in front. Glenn Barracroft having a good study of his notes just ahead of half-time. He and Paul March, I'm sure, will be having a good scratch of their heads, but they'll be pretty happy with the way things are going so far. This Workington side left scoreless so far, unless they can come up with something in the 3.5 minutes that remains of this first half.
Go!
Here's March again. Law taking it forward. Good, solid drive by him.
They look to lack a little bit of energy, don't they, Workington? They just can't quite get on top of Hesketh and Laws. And I mean, how would you? Look at the size of the guy.
Hesketh again, quick play the ball. Out of dummy half goes Joe Parkinson.
He's been lively as well, hasn't he, since he's come on off the back of a couple of those big drives. He's got another penalty for them as well.
Well, the ball was stolen. It's the right decision, but I think when they were trying to steal the ball initially, there was only 1 man in the tackle, wasn't there? But then a second Workington player came in and joined in, and that's why it suddenly became illegal.
We've had a series of penalties within the last 10 minutes. We need to sort it out, otherwise I'll take an action. No.
Yeah, I think he was trying to listen to what the referee was saying to him. He's in a series of penalties, but I'd go for 2 here. This is probably the one where I'd agree.
Have a look at this. It's 1 man in, 1 man in. And just as he steals it away there, the second man arrives.
Well, do you know, when you're not playing too well and you're not quite as aggressive as the opposition and the calls don't seem to go your way, had the momentum being the other way, you might get those kind of calls. Well, I didn't think it was a penalty.
So Leatherbarrow is a Keighley Cougar, a man dressed in a big fluffy cougar suit, just shaking his fist at us. Not sure what that's all about, but we'll pass off as Leatherbarrow attempts to make this his 6th success of the night so far. Clock ticking down towards half-time. Leatherbarrow, right-footed again, is keeping his 100% record here. 6 out of 6. And they are rattling those tins, as Brian Noble says. 38 minutes very nearly played, and 20 points to 0 the lead now.
Gary Town didn't look too happy, did he?
No, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Because Keighley have had all the ball, all the possession is half. They've only scored 2 tries, but they're 20-0 in front.
So here comes Carter again. He's getting plenty of practice at this, isn't he, Brett Carter? Restarting again, kicking downfield.
They were all offside at the kickoff as well.
Hesketh with a big drive.
Hold, wait, go. No penalties.
Dash out from dummy half by Duffy. Always kept it alive as well, well enough.
Stand, wait, go.
Here comes Law, firing it forward again.
Movement.
They want the ball all the time, don't they, Law and Hesketh? They've got their hands up there, getting in and around the ruck. They've been terrific for them so far.
4, move, onside. Hold,
Well, they've still got tackles in the back here, just a couple. Workington should get the ball back, not if they make a break like this, though. Terrific run from dummy half by Parkinson, who's still going, kept it alive, got it backward. Cosgrove gets it away here to Duffy. Duffy looks back on the inside. Workington's defence scrambling desperately to cut that down. That would have been a
big tackle this now.
Okay.
Here comes Leatherbarrow, kicking it left. Up goes Calderwood, doesn't get there first, but he does manage to do a job on the leaping Paul White. The ball's gone to ground. The referee says what here? Knock on. Head and feed for Keighley. They want to get on with it quickly. They will stop the clock here. Rallying around, the clock is stopped. They will get another set here. They might get 4 tackles out of here, maybe 3. With 37 seconds left to play in the half.
Massive defensive set for Workington. To have any aspirations in this second half, I really think they've got to keep Keighley out here. Must have been 10 people in that scrum to stop the clock, wasn't there?
They weren't taking any chances, were they? I think it's fair to say.
Here it's fed. Left it comes to Leatherbarrow. Leatherbarrow throwing it to Jones. Jones, the fullback, up in the line. Workington's defence is there. Cale Connor, first man in. Making sure the tackle was a good one. This is Cosgrove now. Picks up from dummy half. We'll have a look down that right blind side, but there were plenty of Workington numbers there. I think it was 3 against 2 in defence. Parkinson, left, in by Pursglove. It's going to be held up. We're into the final 7 seconds, so 1 more play. This will be the final play of this first half. Leatherbarrow spinning it away to March. There's the hooter. Jones tries to get the kick in. It comes off a boot of a Workington player. It's picked up by Paul White, and he scores the scruffiest of tries from a defensive point of view, but a try that is a dagger through the heart of the Cumbrians. Keighley 24-0 with a kick to come, and what a bonus that was right at the end of the half.
All on the kick. March is the architect, Leatherbarrow March. Danny Jones will miss kicks it, if you believe that. The ricochet comes off a Workington player. Paul White just has to pick it up and score. There's Leatherbarrow March. Danny Jones, the kicker, comes off his shin. Comes off Calderwood. And Paul White just has to pick it up and score.
Yeah, he's always been a good finisher, Paul White, hasn't he? Very alert there, straight up on it. And like Brian said, I just think that's a bit of a killer try, really. Just right on half-time there, taking, you know, with Leatherbarrow's kick here, it could be out to 26 points to 0, and that's really a big mountain for Workington to have to face at the break.
So Leatherbarrow looking for his 7th success of the night. He's been going up in 2s for his side, but a chance for the 3rd time to make it a 6, but he has put it wide, so it remains 24 points to 0. 6 out of 7 by Leatherbarrow, but it has been all Keighley in that first half.